Most runners think marathon nutrition is all about smashing a few gels, maybe having a couple of electrolytes, and then having a giant bowl of pasta the night before the race. But here's the hard truth. If you don't dial in and personalize your nutrition, you could sabotage months of hard training on the day. Hi, I'm James Hudson. I'm a registered sport nutritionist and runner, and I'm the guy who helps runners and busy professionals dial in their nutrition so that they're not a slave to macros or random cookie cutter plans. And today, I'm breaking down exactly how you can approach your marathon nutrition, from the carb load strategy, to race day fueling, to hydration, to recovery. We're gonna cover it all. So you can start your race feeling confident and then have the energy to run the race that you want and also feel good afterwards. So let's get into it. Let's start with the most misunderstood topic, carb loading. Carb loading isn't about just eating a massive pizza and maybe 5 bagels the day before. It's a process where you're going to be fully saturating your muscle glycogen stores without wrecking your gut or making you feel really bloated before the race. Carb loading. So here's how it works. Race day -2. On this day, what you're looking to do is have high carbohydrate foods in each of your 3 main meals, and then also have a couple of high carbohydrate snacks. You could also maybe have a few high carbohydrate drinks just to help get a bit more carbs in. I wouldn't bother about tracking on this day. You're just looking to eat to fullness, so eating according to your satiety levels, but prioritizing lots of high carb foods. However, in the evening on this day, I want you to start reducing fiber. So take away the vegetables. What that does is it's going to reduce the undigested food in your gut on the day of the race, making you feel lighter on your feet and able to perform. On race day -1, so this is the day before the race, this is where we get a lot more specific. So we're going to go low fiber all day. So this is where having some sugar is actually going to be okay. Go for things like kids cereal in the morning, have white bread for lunch, have high carbohydrate snacks during from fruit or smoothies, and white rice is going to be your friend. So maybe having some large white rice meal, maybe kedgeree or something like an egg fried rice for dinner. Noodles, rice noodles, also great. We're looking to really top up that store and ideally get to 8 grams per kilogram of body weight without having too many vegetables. So 8 grams per kilogram body weight, and we are low fiber all day. A good tip for race day -1 is also to eat low fat, because if you're trying to shift the macronutrients in favor of carbohydrate, if you also have lots of fat and lots of protein, then you're going to end up eating a very large amount of total calories. That's going to be one of the things that will make you feel a bit, God, I'm so full. I'm not going to be feeling like I'm performing at my best. So really being mindful of restricting some high fat foods and also not overdoing the protein, so that there's just a huge drive on easy to digest carbohydrates. Now, dehydration. And dehydration is one of the main reasons that runners fatigue in the latter stages of their marathon. Losing more than 2% of your body weight from fluid can seriously hurt your performance and will actually make your running feel harder. This is more likely to happen in the heat or if you're not well practiced at drinking water on the move. So, to help prevent this, you need to make sure that you are starting well hydrated. To do this, instead of just chugging plain water, which actually increases your urination, so it doesn't hydrate you as effectively, we need to include sodium, as that's going to shift your fluid balance and make sure that your fluid strategy actually works. So I like to recommend a hyperhydration strategy. Let me explain how to do this on the board. So the evening before the race, I want you to drink 500 milliliters of water and 750 milligrams of sodium. Have that in that mixture. So that'll be one of these or roughly 2 of these. If you have a different type of brand of electrolyte, just read the label, see how many milligrams of sodium in. You are aiming for 750 milligrams and you're looking to pour that into 500 milliliters. Drink that the evening before the race and then also have the same mixture 2 to 3 hours before your race. Drink that to thirst though, so don't force that down as well as loads of other fluid, just have that one instead of drinks that you would have normally had anyway. Now, during the race, you want to drink between 400 to 800 milliliters of water per hour, depending on the heat and depending on your personal sweat rate. If you're on the higher end of this, then I'd recommend carrying some water with you, as it's going to be hard to drink enough just from aid stations. James, do I need electrolytes? Well, the science shows that if you're not losing more than 4 to 5 liters of sweat, then no, you don't. And plain water is going to be what you need to maintain your sodium balance in your cells. Okay, what about race day morning? Should you go super low fiber? What should I be eating? Well, this depends a little bit. If you are someone who struggles to eat in the morning or before exercise, then maybe just have something small and light. This is where kids cereal or a slice of toast might work. But if you're also someone who loves to have a big bowl of porridge before your long run, then go for that. My guidance for breakfast is to eat something 2 to 3 hours before that you know that you can run well on, unless you're very prone to GI issues, which is tummy trouble, in which case let's strip the fiber right back and go for something like a small bowl of Rice Krispies. The reality is that you've done the majority of your carb load the day prior, so actually this is just a small carb top up. If you're really nervous and you can't even face eating anything, then something is better than nothing, in which case maybe have a small sports drink or something like a smoothie. Just something to get a little bit of carbs in. And please do not experiment with random superfoods on the day. Let's not do anything that you haven't tested in training. Now, let's look at the main event, fueling the actual running of your marathon. Let's get on the board. First, carbs. I want you to aim for 60 grams of carbohydrate per hour if you're fairly new to fueling. However, if you're more experienced and you've done a couple of marathons before, you can build up past 60 up to 90 grams per hour. This is a large intake of carbohydrate, so you need to make sure that you've practiced getting up to those numbers in training and that you feel good on them. How do you hit these numbers? Well, sports nutrition products are going to be a lot more practical just because they're easy to carry and you know exactly how many grams of carbohydrate are in them. Yes, gels, chews, sports drinks, whatever you're having, make sure that you read the numbers and then can estimate how many grams of carbohydrate you need for your duration and then work back to try and hit your 60 grams per hour. My guidance is to maybe fuel every 30 minutes. So if your goal is 60 grams per hour, you might have a 30 gram gel every 30 minutes and start from 0 minutes instead of 30. A nice little tip here is to make sure that you pack an extra gel, an emergency one, just in case it's a longer day out there than you expected. The next one to discuss is sodium and electrolytes. So the real reason to take sodium, which is the main electrolyte that we're really concerned about, is if you're going to be losing more than 4 to 5 liters of sweat and you're replacing more than 70% of your losses. So you need to be drinking a large amount of water, and also you need to be a high sodium sweater. So your sweat needs to taste really salty. If you're ticking all of those boxes, then maybe you need electrolytes. How do we then work that out? If that's you, I'm going to direct you to my other YouTube video, which will explain in a lot of detail exactly how to work out your amount of sodium. But doesn't sodium stop me cramping, James? Well, cramp is not just about sodium. It does play a role in terms of hypohydration or being low hydrated, but there's also lots of other factors that you can manipulate too to reduce your risk. Let's get into it. Cramp. To reduce your risk of cramp, you need to start well hydrated. We're going to do that with our hyperhydration strategy. We need to drink enough during. That's where most people go wrong. So let's try and prevent greater than the 2% body weight loss. We need to have topped up muscle glycogen beforehand. That's also going to reduce your risk. Also, having ample carbohydrate coming in through during is going to help. So hit your numbers. If you're very prone to cramp, I'd also suggest avoiding caffeine. Caffeine is a stimulant, and one of the things that might drive cramp is going to be an overexcitement of the nervous system. So having more stimulants in your system is going to be an extra thing that might suddenly be that straw on the camel's back that gives you that exercise-associated muscle cramp. Finally, stress. Because one of the things that might affect cramp is that overexcitement, if we can manage our stress levels, and that might be something as simple as doing a few really slow breaths beforehand, just to get yourself feeling a bit calmer on the race day -1 and also around race day, or even during the race, actually coming back in, considering your breathing. Can you get back to nasal breathing? All of those things might help reduce that stress and therefore reduce your risk of cramp. Now, when it comes to caffeine, if you're not prone to cramping and you can tolerate caffeine well, then I would suggest aiming for between 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight over your race. Except I'd probably prioritize having it just before or in the very early stages of your race so that you get the most benefit. But please test your caffeine strategy in training. Look at the types of products that you like to use and make sure that you dial it in during your long runs. In terms of gut management during your run, I'd recommend avoiding high fiber, high fat, and even high protein foods during your run. Gels are fantastic here. This is why sport nutrition products are practical. You just want sugar coming in. The issue though that most people have when they have lots of gels is that they're not taking in enough water alongside. So make sure that you're sipping or building the habit of sipping water after you have your carbohydrate source. Finally, don't fall into the trap of fueling only when you feel like you need it. I'd strongly recommend having a plan regarding timings, maybe even every 20 or every 30 or every 45 minutes, and then stick to that as best you can, so that you've got a nice drip feed of carbs coming in to fuel you consistently through your whole run. Now you cross the finish line, you're feeling great. What's next? How do you recover? Now, context is key. It's unlikely that you're probably going to be going straight into another training session or even doing something the following day. So actually, do you need to recover optimally? Probably not. However, should you be getting straight on the pints? Also, probably not. What do I recommend doing? It's being informed by best practice and then finding a solution that you feel comfortable with, that you're going to also enjoy. Recovery nutrition isn't just about feeling less sore tomorrow. It's about putting fuel back in the tank when your body needs it, so that you can be more present with your friends and family after the race, as well as not feeling quite so miserable the following day. So here are my recovery tips, factoring in that you are also human and not an elite athlete. Aim for a recovery meal within 30 to 60 minutes. Ideally, you're looking for between 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, but honestly, don't overthink this. Just get something in. Something is better than nothing. If you really can't tolerate any food at all, then I'd recommend taking something like a meal replacement shake like a Huel, or if actually you're hungry, then plan in going to a restaurant and having a nice big salty pizza and enjoying yourself. Now, rehydration also matters, especially if you're planning on having some alcohol afterwards. And this is where you do want sodium. So if you're going to be using electrolytes, use the same concentration as the hyperhydration strategy to help with your rehydration, or drink water alongside a nice big salty meal, aka that pizza. Now, let me be clear. Alcohol isn't going to help recovery because it's a diuretic, so it's going to slow your rehydration and it's also pro-inflammatory. But if you do want to have some alcohol and do have a drink, then my guidance is to eat and drink some water and some sodium beforehand. Don't forget to continue to eat well through the rest of the day, prioritizing some high quality protein foods, lots of vegetables that maybe you omitted on race day -1, and lots of fluid coming in, drinking to thirst. Also, don't forget your carbohydrate stores. One meal of high carb isn't enough, so make sure you're drip feeding in lots of slower releasing carbohydrates through the rest of the day. One recovery shake isn't enough to refuel and recover from a 42-kilometer race. Marathon day is the ultimate test of everything that you've put into practice in training, your mindset and your nutrition. Dialing in your fueling strategy isn't just about avoiding hitting the wall. It's about feeling strong, confident with your nutrition plan, and present in those final miles where it really counts. If you want a free, personalized marathon fueling plan, then DM me on Instagram, nutrition.for.energy, and I'll send you the carb load plan that's going to allow you to dial in your strategy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with a running friend who needs to hear it. Stay strong.